when I finally found the rev limiter at 9,000 RPM in second, third, and by the time I was in fourth gear, you're doing deep triple-digit speed, so you're off it. But finding it in second and third gear on a twisty road following with GT3, where I was actually catching up a GT3, I was having a lot of fun in that car.
It sounds amazing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record, the first episode of 2024. It's important to know that you have someone in your team. If you got pulled over during that holiday season, from anything from a speeding ticket to a DUI to a real big one, whatever it may be, Off the Record is here to help. They provide such a valuable service, standing in your corner, standing between you and the insurance companies, you and the courts, you and the law enforcement. You are entitled to an attorney, and in fact, you should have one, and Off the Record will help you find one. That's how it works, folks. All you have to do is make an account at offtherecord.com/TST or use code TST10 on the Off the Record app. That'll get you 10% off legal services that Off the Record will set you up with, right? You take a photo of your ticket, you take a scan of your ticket, or you enter your case number or whatnot into Off the Record's portal, and they will set you up with an attorney in the jurisdiction in which you were pulled over and ticketed, and they will fight that ticket on your behalf, the goal of which is to get those points off of your record, right? That way, you're not facing insurance premiums, you're not facing ongoing fines and court costs and all kinds of stuff. When you get a ticket, pleading guilty doesn't just make it go away. That stuff will follow you around for, in some cases, years. It can impact your insurance. It can impact sometimes your livelihood. I have used them myself. They have an unbelievable record of success with these cases, and if they don't win, you don't pay. Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on the Off the Record app. That gets you 10% for this and future legal services with Off the Record. They are the best. Support the people who support us, providing an incredibly valuable service to the sports car loving community. All right, folks, it's the first episode of the year, and our old pal Magnus Walker is here to celebrate with us. This one was actually recorded just before Christmas, but we kept it in the can, special for you. We're talking about OPP, that's Other People's Porsches, Magnus's YouTube show, and some of the really crazy stuff he's been driving that I am super jealous of, particularly that TAG Turbo car. Really, really interesting stuff and a great story. We're talking about Magnus's new collab with TWR and the Kyza, this XJS project. I am super excited about that, and I get to ask Magnus about my new Bentley. That's right. I bought an old new Bentley, and Magnus has two old Rolls-Royces. So we talk about the ownership experience of those and what I might expect with my old new Bentley. Magnus Walker has gotten out and driven to our studio, and he's here on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go! Magnus is in the house.
Happy to be here, guys.
How many miles on that turbo now?
179,585.
Awesome.
I'm, getting towards 180, but the goal is 200,000.
I mean,
to begin with.
How many
it's a
were on it
reasonable
when
goal.
you bought it again?
159. So I put 20,000 in.
It's what impressed me the most about that car, at least when you brought it in the first time, last time you were here, was the quality of that interior.
Yeah, it's held up really,
shockingly
really well.
Good for the mileage.
The original owner, it's two-owner car now. It was a one-owner car before I got it. So it wasn't like five bros thrashed the crap out of it. It's not modified. It was one mature owner who lived in Newport Beach, commuted to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And it came with 50 pages of invoices. He replaced the transmission at 120,000 miles, which was not under warranty. That was like 25 grand. That car is nuts. It had a sticker price of $193,000. This guy was
in
probably
2014?
2014.
Yeah.
So it's a 2014 991 Turbo S. So that was king of the hill back then.
Yeah.
A rhodium silver metallic red interior. That was the launch color. He was probably in it $250,000, 250 grand. I bought it for 60 grand because
It's
no one wanted a turbo with that many miles in it.
Well, you're the right owner for that car.
And it's a car, you know, I don't mind driving it in the rain, don't mind parking it on the street. I'll even let a valet parker park it, which is something I don't normally do.
What's your strategy when you go somewhere? Are you giving them the 20 and saying, where can I park this? That's what I like to do.
I try that. You know, it depends. I mean, there's not many cars I'll take to a place where I know it's going to be valet parked.
Okay.
That's one of them.
What's your go-to car for a mandatory valet?
That or the Rolls-Royce.
The Rolls? Yeah.
You know, I got that black 69. They'll just park that out front because it looks good.
Yeah.
Ironically, the Turbo, they don't park it out front. There's nothing special about a Turbo S in LA that's 10 years old.
Yeah.
But a 52-year-old or 55-year-old Rolls,
classic,
that'll get parked out front.
So. I just met some friends at the Sunset Tower Hotel in Hollywood for dinner. Yeah. And I was driving the Mustang Dark Horse press car in the bright, you know, obnoxious grabber blue color. Was it grabber blue? It's some blue.
It looked a lot like, I think it was slightly different.
It's a little darker, but it's like the bright blue, whatever it was. And the person I met there was driving the new 911 Sport Classic.
Oh, okay.
Like 500 grand, you know.
We can talk about that.
And then my other friend who I was meeting there was driving a Bentley. And both the Sport Classic and the Bentley got parked in the garage.
Oh, in the garage, and you were out front.
And the Dark Horse was out front.
No way. You got priority.
My friend with the
must have hated that with the Sport Classic.
My friend with the SC was like, "What the fuck, man? This is bullshit."
Yeah, I bought the Sport Classic to have it parked out front of the Sunset Tower.
That's what you get for getting it in black, bro. Yeah. If it was like an obnoxious color, it probably would have been out front.
That's a cool hotel. The former Argyle.
Yeah, and the dinner was excellent too.
Piece
the
of
food,
Hollywood
old Hollywood dinner, you know, wedge salads.
Yeah,
and
it's like going to Moose on
meat,
Frank's.
Yeah, meat and potatoes, that kind of shit.
What's your favorite place to eat in LA?
I don't go to Hollywood very much, so I keep it pretty local. I like Night Market, the northern Thai place in Venice. Okay. Amazing. I like Felix, the Italian place.
That's a bit of a zoo, that place.
It's a shit show. It's a shit show. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell everybody the fucking secret right now. I'm gonna regret it. Here's the secret to Felix.
Go on a Tuesday?
No, go alone.
Oh,
you can walk in there almost any day, almost any time, and if you're by yourself, full menu at the bar, you can get in and eat alone.
That's the place though where the bar's weird because the bar is this height and everyone else is like 3 feet below ground, right?
It's the wrong height. Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
It's weird as hell.
Yeah, I'm like, how did that happen?
It's really strange.
And I
don't know what they were doing.
I think there's been a restaurant there since the 80s.
Yeah, they'll have. It was Hal's.
Yeah, that was
Hal's forever. Yeah,
because I was in Venice up until like '94.
Yeah,
right when Abbott Kinney started exploding.
Yeah. Sorry, people, for the LA inside baseball.
Venetian stuff.
There we go. I was in Venice yesterday. It's looking good. Shout out to Venice.
Good to hear. I do love Venice.
It's looking good in Venice.
All Brits end up in Venice at some point, either when you first get here or when you're on your way out, I think. But
it's actually, I think I know 3 English people who live in Venice, which is pretty funny.
Tony Rackley.
Yeah. Yes, of course, Ferrari Tony.
Yeah, Prancing Pony Tony.
Who lives in another English person's house. Yeah, fucking Johnny Rotten's house.
Yeah, that's right. You can't talk about Tony Rackley without talking about Johnny Rotten.
Yeah.
I actually saw him yesterday, actually.
Oh, is it Tony or Johnny?
Tony.
Yeah, he's all right.
Rackley.
Shout out to Tony.
Yeah,
and his Volvo. I love his Volvo 850R. He's got the yellow Volvo 850R with a stick. Proper.
Yeah.
It's a proper car.
He's a guy. He knows a lot of people.
Yeah. He knows fucking everybody.
Formula One race car drivers.
He knows fucking everybody.
Eddie Irvine.
Yeah. He's got the stories. So what's up? OPP doing well? Other people's Porsches?
Yeah, other people's Porsches doing well.
You sent, I saw one thing that you did that I was incredibly jealous of.
What was that?
The Stefan Johansson TAG Turbo,
TAG Turbo.
And I want to spend time on that. We saw that car at Goodwood, and I was drooling on that shit.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And you had to go in the Rinspeed thing that Bo owns. That seemed like a good time.
Yeah, that was good.
You had to go in Derek Whitaker's car, which I've driven.
That's actually a really well set up turbo.
I drove it in a pissing rainstorm. I did not get the full effect, but I love Derek and I love that car.
He's thinking of selling that car weirdly.
I know. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I get it.
I hear he wants a Taycan. I don't know.
I don't think he wants a Taycan.
Sacrilege.
Yeah, come on. Who wants a Taycan?
And then you just sent me the thing you did with Esteban Oriol, and which is really exciting. I loved the Cypress Hill documentary that he made. He's
LA
a
original.
super LA original street photographer, lowriders, tattoos, cholos, all that shit.
He's the OG.
He has fucking been around. He's still shooting film, isn't he?
Still shooting film. I mean, he's so down to earth. He's so dialed in. You know, a couple of years ago, I bought his buck of photography, and he shot everyone. You know, from like Robert De Niro to Al Pacino to Snoop Dogg to everyone in between. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what he's done, what he's achieved. You know, ironically, he was right around the corner from my warehouse downtown with Mr. Cartoon and his Joker clothing line for a long, long time. So, yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes. I shot 25 episodes this year.
It just went up. It went up this morning.
Just went up this morning.
Yeah.
It's my favorite because he's so, you know, I'm one of those guys that's been in LA forever. I love LA characters, and he's an LA character. He's a legendary guy.
Did you know him well before doing this film?
No, I mean, I met him a handful of times. You know, he'd been over the warehouse, and this film came out purely organically. It was, you know, an event at the Soho House I got invited to via Downtown LA Porsche for the launch of a base Cayenne, of which I wasn't really interested in that, but...
That's hilarious. They get Soho House for the new base Cayenne. Yeah. Now we're talking.
Esteban
is that a V6?
Yeah. Esteban had invited me to it, and he's just down the road, so I figured, hey, I'll go. I didn't really know what the event was, but when I saw what it was, I'm like... This is going to be a perfect OPP episode.
Yeah. So he did an art car.
He teamed it up, and his two buddies, you know, actually did the painting, Deffer and Sharkey, who are pretty renowned artists, painters, you know. They did the live painting at the Soho House in front of however many people were there. Took a couple of hours.
The painting, what they're doing in this still that we're showing right now, on the parts on the driver's side of the car almost looks like your sort of font that you use for the Urban Outlaw stuff.
Yeah, it does, sort of, because it's got that wide sort of bold stroke to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was painted live at the Soho House, and a couple of weeks later I picked it up from Porsche DTLA and went on a tour of LA with these guys talking about, you know, the film is not about the Cayenne.
Show that shot. No, but it's a cool looking. I think that the shot of you exiting the Cayenne, it all kind of tracks together. I think it works.
Weirdly, I've never owned a Cayenne, but I often talk about two of my all-time favorite top 10 drives have been in Cayennes. One of them was across Australia, from Brisbane all the way across. Simpson Desert, Uluru, Ayers Rock. And another one was a really spirited drive down in Colombia from Bogota to Medellin. These were Porsche press drives.
Was the Australia one worth your time?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's such a mind
trip. You say it's one of your best drives, so I guess it was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've driven a lot, but that one was just so memorable because once you get like within 50 miles of the coast, there's a whole lot of nothing except dead kangaroos and weird terrain.
Yeah.
You know, and it's full-on Mad Max sort of environment.
Dirt or tarmac?
There's dirt, there's tarmac, there's concrete, there's sand, there's Ayers Rock, there's Uluru, there's Simpson Desert. I mean, it was a Porsche World Expedition Cayenne adventure where literally they drove across Australia. And Australia doesn't look that big on a map, but when you get there and you get out of the coast and there's nothing there, it's freaky.
Yeah.
And lots, you know, I guess there's 4 times as many kangaroos as humans in Australia.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of dead ones on the road. So
it sucks.
So, you know.
Because they're probably getting hit by those trucks and stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's full on Mad Max stuff out there. Kind of eerie and spooky. So, you know, I have a thing with Cayennes that they always end up being fun in a weird way. And this was a great example of taking Esteban on a LA tour and hearing his stories and putting the Cayenne in an environment like the LA River and Elephant Hill where you wouldn't normally expect to see it. And the juxtaposition of him and I together in a car that became an art car probably wasn't expected, you know. So it all sort of fell into place and came out really, really well.
You're the only person I know that like regularly gets access to the LA River.
You just drive in. I mean, you don't get access.
Is that it?
You just drive in.
You just got to drop a pin for where I can get in there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's off the back end of San Fernando by the Home Depot in Cypress Park near Dodger Stadium.
All right.
It used to be really easy under the 6th Street Bridge, 100 yards from my warehouse.
Yeah.
But now you got to go on the back end of Chinatown. But it's unbelievable because people go, do you need a permit to get in? There's no one there. There's no gate. You just drive into it. and hope you get out of it.
Ask forgiveness, not permission.
I've never seen a cop down there.
Well, they're
ever.
not looking.
Yeah, they got better things to do than going the LA River.
They're not looking down there.
You know, there's all types of stuff they can do elsewhere.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a cool story, and Esteban is like, he's awesome.
He's legit OG. I mean, the stories he has, you know, he was tour manager for House of Pain, hang with Cypress Hill and all those
Did you see his Cypress Hill film?
Yeah,
it's rad.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed his Cypress Hill. I'm a massive Cypress Hill fan. That was one of my first concerts I ever went to.
Oh, interesting.
And I really
insane in the memory.
Fuck yeah, dude! That when they were touring on Black Sunday, that was fucking sick, dude. For a 12-year-old to see that shit, that was crazy.
You were 12.
They had like an 8-foot bong on stage. They're just. It was. I mean, this was like when weed was like fully illegal everywhere, and there's just so much ganja going on in that place. I was like, I like this life. Yeah. It was amazing.
Good times.
But
he's got lots of stories.
Oh, the best. And his photography, of course, is incredible beyond.
Yeah, he's legendary.
Just without the stories, the photography itself it stands alone.
Yeah.
But can we talk about the TAG Turbo?
Guys, we got to take one more break today because we are supported by CrowdHealth. Why are you still sending money to those big insurance companies that profit off of not paying your bills? It's true. That's how insurance makes money. You pay them, and then they don't pay you when you need them. That's like... It sucks, but like that's what insurance is. Like, did you know that 48 million claims on Obamacare last year were denied? That's not to mention claims that were denied from other private insurance companies. 1 out of 5 are going to get rejected. Do you want to take that chance? Health insurance sucks. It's confusing, it's expensive, and it's frustrating, and there's a better way. Welcome to the alternative. It's CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth was created to get rid of the headaches of health insurance. For $175 for an individual or $575 for a family of 4 or more, you'll get access to a community of people who are willing to help out in the event of an emergency. Literally, crowdsourced healthcare. That's how it is. You'll get telemedicine visits, discounted prescriptions, and more. All this without doctor networks getting in the way. Let CrowdHealth help with your healthcare needs. You can get started today for just $99 a month for the first 3 months if you use code TIRE to get the healthcare you deserve. Remember, CrowdHealth is not insurance. Learn more at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com and use code TIRE.
TAG Turbo, sure.
So
you saw it at Festival of Speed.
I saw it at Festival of Speed, and before that, I mean, we'd heard the stories before Lanzante announced it. We heard about the engines.
Right.
One of our friends knew about the engines and told us the story of the engines, and then we found out what Lanzante was doing. So there was this cache of F1 engines.
Apparently 14 of them.
Yeah.
At least.
Just in like a storage unit.
Correct.
And there was this rumor that there was a prototype 930 car that had a road car that had been used to test this Porsche TAG Motorsports co-developed 1.5 liter
V6 turbo
Formula One motor, but they had put one in a road car to test it.
Right.
And then we found out that they were actually going to build these cars or do resto mods with these cars with this existing lot of engines, many of which had actual racing provenance.
Correct.
Podiums and victories. And so then Lanzante showed the thing, and it really looks pretty much just like a regular 930, but with this insane engine in the back. And the question I had was, well, this is an F1 motor. Like, will you be able to drive it in a street car? And you got to drive it.
The answer is yes. Porsche developed that V6 twin turbo for TAG to go in the McLaren in 86, 87. And part of their shakedown was they put it in the back of a 930, like you said. And
the rumor is Ron Dennis owns the original car.
Apparently this rumor is true, because Lanzante, who I guess was part of McLaren's F1 Le Mans winning team in the 90s, had this relationship with McLaren. The main guy over at Lanzante attempted to get the car from McLaren. They didn't want to part with the car, but somehow said, we've got 14 spare V6 motors from that era if you want those. And I guess the light bulb flashes too. Let's just put them in turbos of that era.
Yeah.
So the one I drove, the RIS 11, that the one I drove was the car that debuted at Festival of Speed, went up the hill with Stefan Johansson.
Yeah.
I've known Stefan for several years, visited him down in Santa Monica and Venice. So
he was a Formula One driver who is now an artist, a painter.
Stefan Johansson has had a lot of success. He was a 10-year Formula One driver. He raced for Ferrari, raced for McLaren, raced for a lot of other teams. He raced for McLaren in 86 and 87. He's won at Le Mans. He actually raced Le Mans, won there in the 90s. He's raced sports car. He's raced all types of disciplines of motorsports. And he is an artist. And the whole paint scheme is reminding him of when he went to Le Mans for the first time and you go down the Molson Straight at 220 miles an hour and everything's at hyperspeed.
Yeah, so the car you drove was painted by Johansson and also has his F1, his actual F1 engine in it.
Correct.
So this is the guy who got to drive the same engine on a Formula One track and then later on the road.
Right. So
does he own the car also?
No, he didn't own the car. So the story with
the paint is gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, the story with the car is he raced that McLaren with that specific engine at the Austrian Grand Prix in 87. So that engine is from 87. That turbo is an 87 930 that Lanzante put together. It's got a 6-speed manual out of a 993, and obviously it is a streetable V6 F1 TAG Turbo engine, meaning that in race trim, in qualifying trim, it made 1,200 horsepower.
Right.
In race trim, it made around 950 and was sort of an on-off switch. Obviously, that's not going to work on a street car.
Yeah.
So you don't just they've detuned it, they've made it streetable, it's got a different cam profile and stuff like that. But you don't just get in it and turn the key. You get in it, turn the key, wait 5-10 minutes for it to warm up before you can sort of proceed forward.
So does it have like an oil heater, like one of those
There's
kind
all
of things?
types of things like that in it to make it really streetable.
And then once it's running, what happens?
Once it's running, it's kind of like a regular turbo in the sense of there's not a lot of stuff below 4,000 RPM, but between 5 and 9, it's just so zingy and punchy. It's kind of unbelievable. But it's not quite as neck-snappingly fast as you would think it actually is.
Sure. Well, Formula One engine puts your head in a space for certain expectations.
But you sort of got to look at it as it's a 550 horsepower turbo, of which there are quite a lot of those around.
Yeah.
But it's the way it delivers the power and the way it revs and the sound, and the fact that it's literally a 1.5 liter and it's a V6 turbo.
Yeah.
It's kind of an oddball sound.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things that I've got photos of it in the crest on the ground where it was running rich, spitting big flames. If you find that one.
I saw that picture.
It's kind of an epic shot that we didn't actually realize it was doing that at the time. And then when we pulled in, they were all like, we knew it was kind of running rich.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it made for a dramatic photo. So I actually shot that video probably 6 weeks ago, but it's not out yet. It's coming out in January.
Oh, okay.
But if you go up to the top,
keep going. The photos are pretty recent.
The photos are pretty. There you go.
There
you
it is,
go.
down there. Yeah.
There's
the fire. Left side. Yeah.
Look at that.
That is. That's a little rich.
So that's in the crest. We're going downhill. I come off throttle. Going to the turn, and then it was like, whoops! We just managed to capture that.
3 to 4 feet of flame.
Fire starter.
Yeah, that's a drop the frozen turkey in the boiling fryer flame. It's a big one.
So Lanzante, the British, company, they're making 11 of these.
Yeah.
This is one of the 11. This is the only one that is like the signature car with the fancy paint job.
They actually, at Goodwood, they had this on the stage on their booth the first day, and then they were running it up the hill, so they brought out another one.
Yeah.
So they had one that was some kind of mint green that was much more subtle.
Stefan was there and drove that up the hill. I was at Goodwood on the Friday where it was a super rainy day. I'm not sure what day you went, but
we were there all the days.
Oh, yeah.
We saw you at Friday at the Lotus Lotus booth.
You were doing your podcast with Kyza there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a real mud bath. But yeah, the car is owned by O'Gara. It's their car.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think they'd commissioned Lanzante and put the deal together with Stefan. So that car is known as the SJ87, Stefan Johansson 87. And he actually did the painting in England. He was over there painting it for 2 weeks in England.
I mean, what's really cool about it is just having a provenant F1 engine period, on a stand would be very cool and a very expensive, trophy or art piece. But to then take that engine and put it in something where it's not just like in your living room. Now you can actually
drive it,
take it out and drive it, and do something with it. You can bring it with you. The 930 is just an engine stand to really display this.
It's a movable engine stand.
Yeah.
How much of the engine did they change to make this work? Because I'm thinking of Mercedes they tried to make the AMG 1 with the F1 engine, and it's had so many problems. And this is in an era when engines were much simpler.
Folks, we got to take a quick break for today's sponsor, Groove Life Belt. The Groove Life Belt, man, they sent us some of these Groove Life belts, and they are awesome. I'm trying to lose some weight. I'm trying to get in shape. And my old belts, that 1-inch gap, that's like too much. Right? That's like too much. Like if you're losing or gaining a little bit, even if it's just a meal or a good workout or you're cutting or any of that kind of stuff, right? These belts have a really nice like micro buckle, right? The Groove Life belt has this proprietary webbing. It's engineered with just the right amount of stretch, and then Groove Life designed the world's most awesome buckle. It snaps using these rare earth magnets set in an aluminum alloy. Your waist will thank you. Those old school belts are out. The Groove Life belt is in, and that buckle includes what they like to call stiff tech. That's a fancy way of saying there's no annoying belt flaps that need to be tucked in on the other side. Whatever happens to your Groove Life gear, they're here to help with a 94-year no BS warranty. The Groove Life belt will probably outlive you, unless you're doing one of those things where you like cut your head off and freeze it for 3 centuries, and even then, they'll probably take care of you. If you come back from the dead to file a claim on your Groove Life belt, they'll probably just take care of you, just to make you go away, because you'd be kind of scary at that point. Groove Life is awesome, especially, I'm in between these belt sizes day to day, week to week, and I can make those little adjustments, and I love it. They've grown from a side project to a company that now provides for over 100 families, recognized by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing companies in the USA. Plus, Groove Life makes more than just belts. They've got wallets, rings, watch bands, AirPods, cases, and much more for your everyday carry. Look, it's 2024. Are you still using that same belt from 2004? Now is the time to upgrade your belt game with Groove Life. Head over to groovelife.com/Tire20. That's TIRE and the number 20 for 20% off all Groove Life products. It's the best offer you'll find, but you've got to use my link, groovelife.com/Tire20 for 20% off your order. One last time, that's groovelife.com/Tire20 for 20% off your order at Groove Life. Now, back to the show.
Ask me this question in about a month's time when I've really dove in deep with the guys that build it. I just drove it. I asked O'Gara. They didn't really know. I spent the day with Stefan. I've got to get to
Did it run on pump gas?
Yeah, it ran on pump gas.
So then they're probably lowering the compression a little bit. They're definitely lowering the boost. They're definitely lowering the red line. It's probably a smaller turbo.
This thing revved to 11,000 in race trim. It doesn't rev there now. In race trim, it made 900 horsepower. In street trim, it makes 550.
Yeah, so they're
But yeah, it runs on pump gas because when the car was dropped off, it was almost empty. Yeah. So, of course, we had to go fill it up. Yeah. I actually filled it up at the gas station at the bottom of the crest. So it runs on 91.
I mean, even if it did, it's such a niche thing that even if it didn't run on pump gas, like, who cares?
Yeah, you can find 100 octane
You'll find
somewhere.
You'll find it, drive it. But, really cool. But just the fact that they did make it run on 91 indicates that they were willing to make some real changes.
Yeah, because they wanted a car that was streetable.
Sure. What's the point of putting it in a street car if you then can't drive it on the street?
It's my pet peeve of these cars that are too much of a race car for the street, right? That are not actually streetable and enjoyable because you can't go from idle to transition of throttle without it going like this, right? Because it's real cammy. And then how does that work on the 101 on me coming down the 405 in rush hour?
It's got 1,000 horsepower that's totally inaccessible when you need it, and then it drives like straight garbage the whole rest of the time.
But it's great above 5,000 RPM. But when are you ever above 5,000 RPM in daily driving traffic?
Yeah.
So,
but still, that's a real treat to actually get to sample that car, I think.
Yeah, it was something that I'd seen it at Goodwood. I saw it at the Quail. I spoke to Stefan there when it was on the O'Gara stand. I'm like, hey, can we shoot an OPP on this? And, it took a couple of months to set this thing up because once you get PR and media and marketing people involved, all of a sudden it's not just like, I'll meet you at the Crest at 6 a.m. and let's go drive it.
Yeah.
But it was an easy shoot. I shot it with my buddy Pavel. You know, it's just him and I shoots, and then he edits, and it was a fun day.
Yeah, that
and a pretty easy car to drive.
I get to drive a lot of stuff, and I always see what you're doing, and sometimes I go, oh, that's cool, but other times I'm like, fucking Magnus, fucking jealous. This one I was like, damn it.
All you got to do is ask.
Got to drive this one.
You just got to ask.
It never occurred to me. This is a car where it just never occurred to me to even ask, because I figured it was sold, and it would, it would be on the stand at the Quail, and then it would vanish into a collection, and nobody would ever see it again.
Yeah, probably if Stefan hadn't been on the stand at the Quail and I came up to him and spoke to him there, and it was just super organic and easy.
Yeah.
If I tried to go through the PR department,
you being friends with Stefan helps.
Yeah, I think it does. But he didn't own the car, so then it had to be pitched to O'Gara, and then the stars aligned.
But if someone's gonna vouch for you, that's the guy to vouch for you.
Yeah. He's a super cool down to earth
unless
guy.
You got Ron Dennis handy, he's the next guy to vouch for.
I don't know Ron Dennis. Do you know Ron?
Huh? I don't know Ron.
You don't know?
I don't know Ron. Gordon Murray's as close as I get to Ron Dennis.
He's tall, Gordon Murray. Right? Yeah.
And he's very cool. He's the nicest man ever.
He's super down to earth.
Yeah.
Got great musical taste. He's into old-fashioned jukeboxes.
Yeah, he's got like 35 jukeboxes.
Yeah, Rockolas and stuff like that.
He has a drive-in movie theater at his home with a 59 Caddy, which is rad.
Yeah, he's the guy.
It's like he just goes all the way. I like his level of commitment.
He is all in.
Yeah. What else was on the? There was another car in the the Rinspeed.
Oh yeah.
So this is Bo Bachman's car from the Galpin collection.
Yeah.
And this is Rinspeed is such a weird company. They build the weirdest shit.
Yeah.
And this Rinspeed slant nose turbo has almost a Testarossa-esque body kit on it, and all this crazy electronics from the 80s. It's sort of a conceptual future 80s company. They make all these cars that like turn into submarines and airplanes. And
it's nutty.
Rinspeed is like, it's not Mansory or Brabus. It's like off the wall shit.
Yeah. I describe that car as if a Testarossa and a 944 had a baby with a 930, a three-way with a 930 turbo. But that just drove like every other 930 turbo.
Okay, so it's the visual is there, but driving it is pretty normal.
Kind of all show, no go. Mm-hmm. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
But it just drove like any regular 930 turbo.
Anything go the opposite of that in recent OPPs? No. Where stuff that looked pretty regular, but then was mind-blowing to drive?
Drew Hafner's Hot Rod 912 was epic. Perhaps my favorite one, if you scroll down, is the 917 in Norway.
Oh, yeah. That was a cool film.
Yeah, that one happened organically in Norway, and it was a 97. That thing right there is all 917 minus the 12-cylinder engine.
Wait, organically, like you happened to be there and the 917 showed up, or
sort of? Yeah, I was there for an event with Porsche in Norway. I've gone 3 times. It's just epic driving roads in Norway.
Yeah.
It's hard.
You've really
not
got
to.
the right hat going. In
yeah.
Too.
It's a whole Viking warrior thing in a 917. But yeah, that's all 917 down to the millimeter, minus the most important thing, the drivetrain. That's got like a 993 turbo motor with about 500 horsepower. So it's as close as I got to a 917.
You fit in it?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, it's a wide sill getting in, and the weird thing about that 917, and I guess all of them, because it's the same minus the motor, is you sort of used in a 911 to this sit-up driving style. Mm-hmm. In a 917, it's like being in bed.
Yeah.
You're literally laid almost flat with your arms like this. So, it took a little bit of getting used to. It is cramped in there. It's really tight in there. And just getting in over the sill, which is about, 12, 16-inch wide.
Yeah.
Got to take the steering wheel off, slide down.
Take your boots off?
No, it was interesting. Canute, the guy that owns it, told me I would have to. I'm like, there's no way I'm taking my shoes off. So I managed to drive it in those Nikes, and I did. The interesting thing about that is I did 300 kilometers in that car in one day. He built the car a year before. He'd only put 400 kilometers on it in a year.
Oh, really?
So, we just drove it all over, getting these epic shots.
I hope that convinced him to drive it more.
I hope so, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me was an epic day. The film came out looking great. And he was an extremely knowledgeable builder. He supposedly spent 10,000 hours building that himself.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of hours.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
It's a shame not to drive it. I mean, maybe I understand if it's if he just likes looking at it, and maybe it's, I don't know, not better to look at than to drive. But
yeah, it was a cool experience.
That's a good shot there. The steering column looking back at you.
Just stick the GoPro on the tack and shoot it through the steering wheel. That's one of my
it's a good shot.
Desirable shots.
It's very pretty. It looks the part for sure.
Holy shit! There's snow on the ground when you did this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we started in the morning. We got to snow, which is not hard to do in Norway.
Yeah. Whereabouts is this northern? Is this outside of Oslo or where?
It's about 4 hours northeast of Oslo. This little Viking port called Lardal, which is a fjord that comes in where the Vikings, I guess, it's an old fishing town.
Yeah,
super picturesque in the fjords, altitude, 4 hour drive northeast of Oslo.
I'd like to go to Norway. Never been, but every photo of it looks awesome.
I first went in 2013 to this thing called Gatbill, or is it called
Yeah.
Gatbill?
Yeah.
At this epic racetrack called Rudskogen, which essentially is like a baby Nürburgring about an hour south of Oslo. So I've gone there. I've gone to Rudskogen twice, but Gatbill, have you ever gone to that?
No, it's one of those things.
You've heard about it.
Oh, yeah. It's like the craziest build.
It's like a Viking party, and I guess the easiest way to sum it up is like 1,000 horsepower Volvo station wagons held together with zip ties and duct tape at a rave festival in the middle of the forest.
You know, it's weird. For the first couple, I don't know if it was first couple years, but when you went... When we first found out about it in America and like Speed Hunters was there,
I went with Speed
and
Hunters.
all that shit, it seemed like it was like going to be the next huge thing,
right?
And then I feel like we didn't hear about it so much after that. I'm sure
they still do.
it.
I mean, but now like some of the big FD drivers go to it. Vaughn's gone to it.
Well, it's interesting you talk about Vaughn because Vaughn was on here, I guess, within the past year, and he was talking about Rudskogen. And he got black flagged at Rudskogen.
Yeah.
I was actually in the car with him when he got black flagged. So that was the first time I met him. I met Frederick Asbo there, but the story he tells about Rudskogen getting black flagged, I was taking a passenger ride in the car with him. And it's kind of nuts. It's like a free-for-all. They'd just be like drifting around the safety car. The amount of shit is like kind of a little bit out of control. Like there'd be a safety car towing a car off. They don't red flag the track. They'd just be drifting sideways around the safety car while he's towing a car off.
Use your good judgment.
Kind of awesome.
Like, fucking crazy.
And then they have it's like Burning Man at Formula Drift in Norway in the middle of the forest.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Well, they have the Grid Life Festival here where they kind of do this, and it's a time attack, and then there's drifting, and then there's a concert at night, and but I don't think it's achieved that level of crazy when it comes to the build. Some of the time attack builds for sure, but like the fucking cars we see over there.
Yeah, they got all types of nuts things. It's not just 1,000 horsepower station wagons.
That would be a good. Maybe we should try and maybe we can like Patreon a trip to if we could do videos in Norway. That would be fun.
The weird thing when I went, or the thing that takes some getting used to, I went in July. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really go dark.
Yeah.
Like at 1 a.m. it's going dusk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It maybe goes dark between 1 and 2:30. And then at 3 it's daylight.
Yeah. When you're drinking all night, it's daylight. It's really that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's how Vegas operates by just being the same all the time.
Yeah. But at least when you go outside at Vegas, it's dark. It might be 110 degrees at midnight.
I just had the opposite last week. I went to Finland, way north, Lapland, to drive on the ice track.
Okay.
And it was light for 2 hours a day.
No way.
The sun came up at 11:30 and went down at 1:15.
You're driving in the dark.
Yeah, I drove on the ice track at night.
What were you driving?
Porsches.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
It was a good time.
What Porsches were you driving there?
GT4 Club Sport on studded tires, and their new the GT4 Performance, the electric race car thing.
Nuts.
It was nuts.
I took a hot lap in the passenger seat in that down at Atlanta.
Yeah. Was it insanely fast?
Like insanely fast with one of their pro drivers. And as you know, when the pro drivers give you the the lap or the 5 laps, they're on 11/10ths all the time. Yeah. They're not like 50%.
No, they're trying to scare you.
They're almost out of control at every turn.
Yeah.
And that thing was nuts on that new little test track they've got down the Atlanta
PEC
place.
down there?
Yeah, when they opened the Classic Center.
Right. So on the snow, it's imagined on studded tires, and it's 1,000 horsepower, and crazy. It's
You drove it?
I did drive it. Yeah.
What was that like?
A lot. It was a lot, and if I had driven it on tarmac, I think I would have been able to drive it more or less normally.
Got it.
It's very fast, but I've driven a Cup car.
On ice?
No, on tarmac. But it was a lot, and then and it was dark. It was hard to see. The windshield was fogging up because it was really cold outside.
Yeah.
And a lot of the controls are different.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of you're trying to. It's one thing if
Hard
it's
to comprehend.
Like we were just talking, changing to the right-hand side of the car. Like I think that's a fun novelty because it makes my brain work in a situation where my brain wouldn't normally work, right? But in this situation,
you don't have time to think.
There was a lot to think about.
Just getting out of the car. I remember the whole training drill where you have to touch this or you can't touch that, and you have to step a certain distance away, right?
Yes. So there's like if the green light is on, you're fine. If the red light is on, like don't touch anything.
Right.
And if the whole screen flashes red, it's like get out and run away. Run away.
Pray for your life. Somehow extract yourself from the car. It's pretty tight in there, I recall, as well.
And it sounds, it's just gear whine. It's just these straight cut gears. It's really loud in there. But it has this sort of butterfly steering wheel. And on the snow, there's a lot of, sliding and oversteer. It's like my kingdom for a round steering wheel.
Did you have to do hand over?
Yes. Yes. It was not. And they had us, I really liked the GT4 Club Sport on studded tires on the ice. It was the most manageable, maneuverable. It was light. It was responsive. Everything. It was just a direct from the brain to the wheels to the tires to the ice. Like, boom, there.
Direct.
It was great. And that's a rear-wheel drive car. Then to go to the all-wheel drive electric car, it's like, okay, now we need a different technique.
Yeah, how do you adjust it?
And now there's all this other shit you can do because they had just programmed in this new thing where if you're on the throttle and you left foot brake, it doesn't do a traditional left foot brake. What it does is it decouples the front motor and overdrives the rear motor. So it adds drift angle like that. So that's a new thing.
Yeah. Do you normally left foot brake?
On tracks I do. Yeah. If the car has 2 pedals, always. If the car has 3 pedals, sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it depends on the situation.
Yeah, it's a good tool to have in your toolkit. Left foot brake.
And certainly on loose surface, absolutely. But it was just a lot.
Yeah, I get it. I can imagine.
And then we went out. I went out with Rich. What's his last name? Porsche factory driver.
Richard Lice?
Yes. You know him?
A little bit.
So he was amazing, and he was a great instructor and very funny.
Yeah.
And then we went out with him on full kill mode. So there's 2 modes. There's race mode and then quali mode. And race mode is 800 horsepower because the battery has to last a half hour for the race.
Yeah.
And quali mode is just kill. And I went out with him in the dark in kill mode, and he was
nuts.
Fucking, he's got a lot of talent. Yeah, mobbing.
It's I took a drive with Jörg Bergmeister at the GT3 RS launch at Thermal, right? I ended up calling him the Curbmeister because, smooth is fast, but he was so violent. It was unbelievable. Back to the 1110s.
Yeah.
Was just kind of nuts.
It's so funny. They teach you smooth is
fast.
Right,
and then you go with these guys, and you go, these guys are not smooth.
Fucking hammering.
They don't want to give you all the secrets.
Right. I go, you're the Curbmeister. He goes, I use all the track.
Yeah. You have to go through smooth to get to what they're doing.
Right.
If you try to do what they're doing without working your way through smooth, you're in the wall.
Yeah.
I did hit a snowbank in the $1 million prototype car.
These things happen.
And they had to tow me out. Fortunately, because it doesn't get above freezing there, it's soft.
Yeah.
So it didn't damage the car at
How
all.
long did that thing run for before it was out of juice?
I mean, long enough.
Yeah.
It'll last 30 minutes at race pace.
Now, that's kind of what they said when I was down in Atlanta, but they hadn't released a race series for it yet.
They told us it was 30 minutes at racing pace, and based on the amount I used versus the amount I drove, I don't have a reason to doubt that.
But have they set up a race series for this car
Not
to compete
yet.
in?
It's still a concept.
Got it.
Because they still don't have a really great infrastructure for the series. Up there, this was rad, and I have video of it. It's going in the video. They have a 2.1 gigawatt semi-trailer. It's a semi-trailer that is battery. It's a battery. And it's directly connected to the grid, and the grid is charging it all the time. And it has 10 200 kilowatt DC fast chargers on it. It can charge 10 Taycans at once.
Whoa.
Yeah, fast DC, like full mode. So we drove the thing, like, okay, we have to stop and charge. So we fucking drove the race car over there, and it charged in 15 minutes. And in case you're wondering what 2.1 gigawatts is, the instructor up there said his electric bill for the year in his home was 2.2 gigawatts. So this one truck holds enough juice to run a house for a year.
It's a year's worth of charge.
And they can charge 10 Taycans simultaneously at 200
Did they have
kilowatts
Taycans up there as well?
Yeah. Yeah. They have a full...
Is this part of their ice driving winter
full
program?
Porsche ice experience. The facility was enormous. They had 3 different lodges. They had probably 30 different tracks.
Okay, configuration.
And we went from, they have a big like skid pad.
Yeah.
They then have like circles. They then have sort of peanut-shaped figure eights. And then once we demonstrated that we wouldn't like make fools of ourselves doing that, they have multiple ice tracks and rally stages. And by the end of the day, I was doing rally stage in the woods in the dark.
Wow.
It was amazing.
How many days were you there driving?
1.
That's a lot, though.
1.
Long way to go for one day.
28 hours each way.
Don't bring it up.
One day. I was there for one day. It was beautiful. The food was great. The people were nice. And I think it's very expensive to do as a student.
Sounds like a Porsche.
But but fucking rad.
Good. Good for you.
And the car is cool. I got a video. It's coming.
Did you go to Rennsport?
No. I was doing road and track stuff. Did you go?
Yeah, I did.
Did you enjoy it?
I was there 2 days, Thursday, Friday. I enjoyed it. For me, it's kind of like a bitter-edged sort of. Rennsport is a race event that's very good, but Porsche was celebrating its 75th anniversary. So to me, there was a bit of a disconnect in the sense of having been at Monterey Historics 3 weeks before, half of the cars were the same.
Yeah.
Admittedly, they had some epic cars that the factory had bought. But to me, it's this disconnect of, I wish they'd celebrated the 75th anniversary on June 8th and that it wasn't a Rennsport event. Because Porsche's 75th anniversary wasn't just race cars. It was everything Porsche has made in 75 years. But yet they chose to celebrate the 75th anniversary at Rennsport. So to me, it was like, race cars are great, but there was a lot of other stuff that wasn't there because it was Rennsport.
Yeah.
But yet they'd have tie-ins with, like, the Sally Carrera car, which is 20 years old. It's a 996. How is that relevant at a Rennsport? And then they've got the Transformer car. How is that relevant?
Yeah.
But, they've got none of the street cars were there, but they debuted the new 992, one of 77, GT3R Rennsports thing.
Unlimited crazy shit.
Yeah, which always irritates me because, it's not street legal. There's no race series for it. They're only making 77 of them. You'll never see it on the road because no one will ever put it on the road. But it's like the biggest deal right there.
They got to make money. It's all about that money.
I guess.
They could sell them for so much money.
I guess. I mean, to me, the event
car company will car company.
Well,
sell those specials, baby.
Here's my take on being there the first 2 days, Thursday, Friday. I was talking to people who were waiting up to 4 hours in line to buy merch.
I heard about that.
But yet the grandstands were empty. So it was like the grandstand on start, finish, empty. Grandstand on turn 3, like 10% full on the first 2 days. It seemed like more people were interested in getting a souvenir that said, I was at Rennsport, rather than watching the event itself.
Sure.
And then the other thing with Rennsport is...
That's like people filming the U2 concert inside the Sphere versus just enjoying it. Yeah.
And then because Rennsport is not actually a sanctioned motorsports event, like it's not part of this 2-liter Cup challenge in Europe, so there weren't necessarily a lot of Europeans there. So it's really an American event for the American audience, which is Porsche's biggest audience.
Right.
But yeah.
And the fact that it's so close to Pebble, I think there's a lot of Europeans that come in for Pebble, and that they're not going to do both.
Yeah. I just wish they'd done it on June 8th, which was the 75th anniversary, and it wasn't a motorsport event.
Fair.
Because, Porsche's a motorsport brand, but yet they sell a lot of street cars.
Can we, before, I want to talk about something that's not Porsche real quick.
Sure. We can talk about whatever you want.
Before that, I got to do a shout out to the Scale Modeling channel, which I believe is on YouTube. and they said they were going to do this, but Zach, you want to go to camera 5 to the Magnus camera?
That's pretty awesome, right there.
This is, they have made an exact scale model replica of my Spider, with the proper wheels and the proper side scoops and the proper color, and they sent it to me. It is very, very pretty, and it will go on the studio table with our Gunther Works thing.
Job well done.
Actually, I checked out their YouTube channel. It is pretty cool. It's they're making like exact scale models of quote famous cars.
That's good. That's awesome.
So thank you for that very generous gift. It's very, very nice.
Christmas came early for you, right?
Yeah, but can I ask about your Rolls-Royce?
Yes.
Has it been good to you?
Yeah. Ironically, it's in the shop right now, but yes, it's been good.
And you've been using it basically as a daily driver, right?
Yeah.
And for how long?
I've owned that car probably 18 months.
Okay.
Hannah's had hers probably 2.5 years.
You guys got two of them.
We have two of them. She's got one, I've got one. Hers is a 75 long wheelbase 4-door Shadow. Mine is the 2-door coupe pre-Corniche. So it looks like a Corniche, but they didn't start naming them Corniche until 71.
Mechanically the same.
Yeah, mechanically the same.
Okay.
You know, Rolls basically sent the body to Mulliner Park Ward Coupe and had them convert the 4-door down into 2 doors by making the driver's door longer
love
and
yours.
changing the body.
The coupe is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's so cool.
So it's been you know, it's like an old car that had deferred maintenance, so I'm going through it. When I picked it up on the drive back when I bought it 18 months ago, it overheated and blew a hose on the 5 freeway, but that didn't stop me, and now I've got it in getting a few things done to it, minor sort of maintenance, but overall reliable if you drive them regularly.
So that's your experience is the more you drive them, the better they work.
The more reliable they become.
Yeah.
Because those type of cars, like any old vintage car, they don't like to sit, seals dry, crack, bleed, leak, stuff like that.
And the reason I bring that up is because my Hannah and I are buying a car.
You get an old vintage Rolls?
Almost. It is. So in our neighborhood where we live, nobody ever sells their house and leaves. They only die. It's a till death do us part.
Where do you live?
No one's ever escaped this neighborhood.
The houses in our neighborhood.
This must be a West Side thing.
It's a West Side thing. So there's a lot of senior citizens in the neighborhood. They've been there for a very long time.
Okay.
And they die, as we all tend to do.
It's only a matter of time, right?
So there was a house. We found out the man was old. He passed away. And the house is a fairly architecturally significant house. So we were interested we heard the kids were going to sell that. We'd never met the guy. We heard the kids were going to sell the house. We became sort of interested in just to see it.
What is it, one of those mid-century modern things you like?
Yeah. And so anyway, we're walking by the house the other day, and there's a car under a tarp in the garage. And I go, I know what that is. I wonder what that's about. I've never seen that car outside. That's kind of interesting.
It's an old Bentley.
But there were it wasn't the right time to go in there. Then 2 days later, we're walking by again. The car's outside. It's been being washed. It's a 91 Turbo R.
Oh.
And it's fucking mint.
That's a car on my list right there.
Real nice.
That's a car on my list. Bring it up, Zach.
And so I asked the detailer to go, fetch the owner, and I want to talk. They're going to put it up for sale. Yeah. And so I go, I start asking the guy about it, and it turns out the gentleman who passed away bought it new. He's the only owner. It has 20,000 miles on it.
It's good stuff. And
it is mint. I mean, the paint is mint. The leather's amazing.
What color is it?
It's dark gray with a black interior.
Okay, good combo.
And then the burl wood, the really nice burl wood and all the chrome and stuff. The wheels aren't chrome. The wheels are the regular silver, but it's basically that bottom left corner, that dark gray. It's like that.
So have you made a deal?
We have made a deal.
Okay.
We made an offer. It was accepted, and tomorrow I'm going to deliver the money.
So you're going to go pick it up tomorrow?
Yeah, and it needs a couple things. It needs new shocks. So they're the original shocks. So I was going to take it up to Charlie.
Charlie Agapoo.
Yes,
he's the guy.
He gave us an inspection report, and he gave us we can live with this maintenance. But otherwise, that and the
he gave you the thumbs up to go ahead. Then.
Yeah, and the power seats. So this guy bought the car in '91, set the seat, and then never touched it again.
Yeah.
So power seat hasn't moved in 32 years.
You're probably not the same size as this former owner.
Yeah, right. And so these seats, they're memory heated seats from '91.
What?
So they have ECUs.
Are they heated with coal?
It's like an old Texas Instrument.
Dude, this
right
thing
here.
it's got four position memory seats with lumbar,
and it's frozen.
Heated. It's got a 2-zone climate control. It's got heated rear seats. It's got all this good shit in it. It's great.
Well, Charlie's the guy. I mean, when he go over there, it's just unbelievable what he's got in there. Mm-hmm. Well, welcome to the club.
So we're, the electric Ford, the lease is up in April, and so
this will be your daily.
The plan is, we do want the electric Macan that's coming out next year.
Okay.
But we didn't want to get another car in the interim, so I was like, what if? I was like, Magnus and his Hannah.
Yeah.
Or I should say, Hannah and her Magnus.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't want to, it's your Hannah and my Hannah. It's because we both have Hannahs. That's why
right.
I say it that way. They're both equally important to the world and us.
You're right about that.
But I was like, both of them daily old Rolls Royces.
True.
And Donnie, who works on my Italian cars, he dailies a Turbo R.
He does.
And so I was like, it's got to be doable. How bad could it be?
I will tell you, we've broken down in each one. Okay. So this no doubt will happen.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I joke about with Hannah, I go, because I can never have one of the same thing. I have to have multiple. But the running joke is, our third Rolls Royce will be a Bentley.
It'll be
It'll be
and
a
that'll
Bentley.
be the backup.
Yeah, it'll be the backup. It's like the perfect combo.
When Rolls Royce number 1 goes down, you just grab the keys to them. But like these Turbo Rs, it's like 91, if anyone who knows me, like that's my kind of my time period, late 80s, early 90s.
That's your Cypress Hill House of Pain
Exactly.
right there. Insane in the
Black
membrane.
Sunday came out, And I love the shape.
Yeah, it's classic.
I love that it's got a big single turbo.
This will
on a
look
V8.
great parked outside the Sunset Tower.
It will.
Yeah.
They're not putting that shit downstairs.
No, that's getting parked out
How
front.
much does it need besides the shocks? Like, it's just shocks in the seat, and then it's good to go?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Like,
It'll probably have
all the
some
hoses are good and shit?
I have service records going back to
Magnus is preparing his just in case.
They're probably good until you drive it, in my experience.
Possibly.
And then they'll burst
Carry
and
a
crack.
jump box.
And then there'll be some electrical gremlins that'll crop up, I think, from this era.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
But that's the joy of vintage car ownership.
We will document can you daily drive a 32-year-old Bentley for a year? I think you can.
You can.
Yeah, I think you
Because
can.
I'm dealing a 54-year-old Rolls, so you can tell. It'll be interesting to see if that's more or less reliable than a 50-year-old Rolls.
Yeah, we'll have to compare notes.
Because there's more stuff on that, essentially, that'll go wrong from that electronic era. I'm from the simplified era.
Right.
So that'll be the difference.
I didn't. I had Hannah test drive it because I want her
to be comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to drive it 80% of the time. I'm driving press cars and shit.
Yeah.
And so she texted me after she drove it. She was like, "This is great." I was like, "All right, cool, whatever."
The coolest thing you're probably going to find, because it happens to us, is these cars become conversation starters.
Yeah.
No one looks at you like you're a douchebag in a vintage Rolls or Bentley.
Right.
That may happen in a new one,
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't happen in a vintage one. They'll become a conversation starter. What year? All the questions you can assume will be coming at you. Well, congrats
Zach,
on that.
so mine has it's not mine yet, it'll be mine. It has the wheels on it in the big photo there.
Yeah.
So the thing about those wheels, those are 15s, and that's the only car that ever came with a 275 65 15.
Where are you finding that tire?
You got to get the Avons. That's the tire.
275
The
with?
Avon Turbo Speed.
They
is
still
the
make
tire.
them.
They still make them. They're really expensive.
Yeah.
They're about $450 a corner. Okay, so if you look in the second row, Zach, the sort of cream one on the right, one to the right, a lot of people put these wheels on, which are from a slightly later Bentley, and I actually think they look better.
What's the size of that wheel?
That's a 16. It's a 16, and you can run a regular tire. So
You might need a backup set of rims.
I kind of like the style better of this wheel as well. There's not a lot of aftermarket wheels you could put on this that look good. Most of them would look really stupid. And you don't want to fuck up the ride or anything like that. But the 94, 95 Turbo R came with those wheels.
It's a nice search.
So you could possibly get those wheels and then go with a 16 and not have the ride be totally fucked up.
Yeah. I like the 4 lights though better than the 2.
I like the round lights as well. Yeah,
you got
the round lights.
You got the 91.
91 is the round lights. Yeah, but I don't love the 15-inch wheels. That's okay. But
period correct. But
it is absolutely. I don't have photos that we can pull up on the show. I'll show you on my phone later. Saying it's like brand new. The guy's kids said the back seat has never once been sat in.
So the moral to the story here is this is why you walk around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because you never know what you're going to find.
Our neighborhood's got all kinds of crazy shit I've seen in garages. I've seen Testarossas. I've seen old Porsches. I've seen every type of 80s and 70s Mercedes you can imagine.
Occasionally, Hannah and I, we walk like my last name's Walker, as you know. I'm averaging 12,000 steps a day now. It's 6 miles. So occasionally on the weekends, we'll walk around Beverly Hills just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like this architectural tour. Mm-hmm. And what you see under tarps, on flat tires, in the front yard of some of these fancy houses in Beverly Hills is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, we were walking through the neighborhood yesterday, and there was an open garage, and a guy had a Jag XJS, which we have to talk about that.
Here's your lead in
and then right next to it, he had an XKR in matching colors, and I was like. And he was out there, and I was like, "Oh, that XJS is nice." I was like, "A 12, yeah, all right, cool." And I was like, "Hey, just quick question: who do you have work on that?" He's like, "Nobody touches this car but me." I was like,
really?
All right, man.
This seems to be the home of English cars, whatever your neighborhood is.
There's just all 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Probably lots of Mercedes out there.
We are the land of the mint W140 S-Class and R129s all over the place. Yeah. So can we talk about your collab in the XJS with Kyza?
TWR.
Yeah, and because when he came on our show a couple of weeks ago, randomly we were talking about XJSs, and he was like, I got a thing, and then he showed us off air.
He told you the thing.
Yeah. Which is very exciting.
Yeah, if you scroll down there, you'll see it a little bit.
It looks really cool.
There you go. There we are, right there under the bridge.
Did you originally approach him for this, or was he looking? How did this happen?
I'll tell you the whole story. So I'm a Jag owner, Jag fan. I've owned every generation of E-Type. I currently have a Series 3 V12. 2+2 automatic, ugly duckling, the least desirable.
That is the least desirable E-Type by a lot.
Well, you can buy them for nothing, like 10 grand gets you in one, but it doesn't run, but you're in one.
The white one, right?
No, that was a Series 2.
Oh, okay.
The V12 is the one with the great blue patina, the cracked up leather looking paint.
I just remember one you drove to a shoot. We worked together, and the battery died, and you had a jump box, and you were like, small delay on the freeway. I got it.
That was a Series 2. That was the car that died on the 10 freeway on Labor Day weekend and left me stranded for 2 hours on a Friday afternoon while I waited for AAA. Literally 2 hours on the side of the 10 freeway. Like 2 miles west of downtown. Okay. So I've broken down in a lot of cars. So that was the Series 2 with the inline 6, Series 3 V12. I've also owned a 90s XJ6. And probably 5 years ago, pre-COVID, I did this great Jag press drive where we drove all 8 generations of the XJ6 from the factory via Goodwood through Le Mans to the Paris Auto Show, believe it or not.
That's pretty cool.
With Ian Callum. And
they all make it?
They all made it. And believe it or not, none of them broke down, which was a miracle.
Ian's a sweet guy, too.
Ian's a sweet guy.
I like Ian. Yeah,
I met him, I don't know how many years ago, ironically, at Pebble. We're in contact. We've done IG Lives. You've been in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And Jag Classic had done this awesome resto mod, sort of based on Ian Callum's XJC Coupe for Nico McBain, the drummer of Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah, I remember that thing.
Pretty famous car.
Yeah,
so that year was 2018,
I think
2019.
it might have just sold.
Okay.
I think I saw it listed somewhere.
So that
gorgeous.
inspired me to do an XJS, the car that no one had ever messed around with. And I actually spoke to...
Which is a tragedy because it's such a great shape. And it deserved better, let's just say.
The challenge with the XJS is it was the E-Type replacement, and how was it ever going to replace it? So I'd actually spoken to Ian about it. He liked the idea. I spoke to Jag Classic about it. They liked the idea, but it never went anywhere. And then I was trying to find someone in LA who could sort of do this, picture like an updated, like 70s, 80s DTM touring car, Outlaw version of an XJS. So I backburned.
Some people have handmade these.
Yeah, correct.
There's a kid in L.A. who put a Toyota Supra engine, a 2JZ in one, that looks pretty good. It's mostly very good. I saw it at the Peterson at a meet, and it's pretty solid actually.
That's cool. That's cool. So the challenge for me was finding one that was manual. They don't exist really.
Yeah.
They made so few manuals. So I was wanting to do like a gate rag 5-6 speed conversion, and then ironically, about a year ago, I get an email from a former Porsche marketing guy who now is part of TWR. And for those that don't know what TWR is, it was Jag's racing division in the 70s and 80s with a lot of success. They also developed the XJR15, XJ220. And ironically, with Stefan Johansson in 97, one of their former cars became a Porsche car, which won at Le Mans, but it was a TWR car.
I also think they were involved in the Saleen S7.
They're involved in that. They're involved in the Renault Clio. They're involved in Volvo racing.
And TWR's Tom Walkinshaw Racing.
Right, who unfortunately passed away, but his son Fergus had been sort of working out of his back garage, so to speak, doing his own builds. And around 2020, he got some investment and decided to sort of go the next step. So they've been working on this project since 2021. They approached me in 2022 to get involved in it. I go, you must be reading my mind, because I told them what I just told you. I'm in, count me in. So they flew out to see me last December, whirlwind 48-hour trip. And then I brought Kyza in about a month later. I go, I'm all in, but I've got my idea, but we really need a proper designer. So I'd met Kyza.
Did they have designs before? Or
no.
Okay.
They didn't. You know, they had ideas, but they didn't have renderings.
Right.
So I said, hey, you know, this is my 2 cents. I think we need to bring Kyza in.
Yeah.
So I brought him into the fold, and then over the past year, we've been going through what he showed you on renderings.
Don't you have the renderings?
There's no renderings yet.
Oh, there's no renderings public?
No.
Really?
No public.
You sure?
100% sure.
Okay, because I thought I saw them somewhere out.
I doubt it, because I had the debrief earlier today of what can I talk about on the show about TWR. So here's what I can talk about. I'm involved, Kyza involved. I can tell you it's a supercharged V12. You know, you already know that. I can tell you that it's a 3-pedal car, which I don't think you do know.
I did know that.
It's going to be manual.
Yeah.
And they'll, you know, what I said to them was, we should wait until this car is a drivable car, not here's a model concept that doesn't run, that you're trying to get business on. It's, you know, for me, this needs to be a streetable car. Everything we've talked about cars being usable in real world situations. So they've been developing the engine on the dyno. You know, there's a target goal of usable horsepower.
It's based on XJS V12?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Just with more power.
Right.
You know, call it 550, 600 horsepower would be nice type of thing, with a manual 6-speed. So they're in the dyno stage. The engine's been on the dyno. It's making power. Next stage early in the first quarter of the new year will be getting that engine in a test mule to do shakedown miles, dial in suspension. The body that you're seeing is already in design, fab work, mold setup. So there should be renderings that'll come out, I believe, probably in March. This is what the car looks like. And probably by June, there'll be a running driving car. There's going to be 2 cars. There'll be a right-hand drive one based out of England that's for Europeans, and I'm going to get the left-hand drive one that will be here in L.A., that I'll be driving on my favorite roads and having people drive along with it.
I would like to have a go.
So that's what's happening with TWR.
When Kyza showed me I guess he just showed me the renderings on his phone.
Yeah, probably.
I immediately said, oh, I'm a customer for this.
What did you think of the way it looks?
I thought it was rad. I mean, it looks really cool. It's aggressive, but it's like not, you know, too much.
Right. If you know Kyza's style, you know, it's definitely his style.
You can imagine what it looks
like.
What it could look like. Yeah. And there's elements of the old TWR race cars a bit. And you know, he said forced induction 12 and a fucking stick. So, like, all right, that sounds rad. Sounds really cool.
And the great thing about it is TWR has legitimate race heritage.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
This
yeah.
is not like a startup company that's promising performance. This is a company that had a lot of performance, and a lot of success. One at Le Mans, involved in a lot of different areas of motorsport. So, there's a lot of heritage behind the company, which is, is sort of a rebirth, a new edition of TWR, essentially.
Yeah, and when I looked at the renderings, I went, oh, that's going to be, and I threw out a number that was very high. You know?
It's not going to be that.
And then he goes, actually, it's probably going to be about half that. I was like, oh. Well, now I'm really a customer.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I'm really interested.
This is not like a big figure build. It's a relatable, obtainable figure as the target goal.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes because obviously things take longer than you think.
Yeah.
Take
Will
more
they
time.
do a convertible?
I don't think there's a plan
Be very
for a convert.
Be very
I
California.
don't think there's a plan
94, 95, the
I
convertibles.
know.
Be pretty cool.
You're talking to the wrong guy. I've never, ever owned anything convertible.
Only what if it was a speedster and had no top at all?
That's even worse to me. It's like bugs in the teeth. I mean,
I'm
with
when
Magnus.
they.
I think the profile of this car is so good, but with a convertible, you lose it.
yeah.
If you did a speedster windshield and a chopped windshield and no top at all, it could look really
Maybe.
cool.
I mean, I'm committed to the project because I went and bought an XJS. And ironically, that XJS...
Are you sending that one over there to be turned into the other one?
Possibly, but the one they're building already in left-hand drive form is already in construction in the UK. But the interesting thing about that car is, remember when I did that show, The Next Big Thing?
Yep.
I drove that car on the show.
That's the one we drove at night?
Yeah.
The woman owned it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's that car.
I remember that was.
And the story behind that car is it was apparently ordered new by the manager of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
that's
nice.
his claim to fame.
Nice.
LA car. So that's an 89, but that was
That's
the car
so
on,
cool. Oh, wow.
on The
What a
Next Big
small
Thing.
world.
Does that
It
car
looks
work?
amazing.
That's a running driving car.
No, I know, but does it work?
I drive it at least once or twice a month.
Okay.
It works.
Okay.
It works.
Do you like driving that as it is?
No, because it's automatic and it's not fast.
Yeah.
That's a V12, so you think V12 fast, but it's lazy.
Yeah.
It's sluggish.
How much power did that even make? It's
I
like
think it's 280 or 290.
It feels like it's got about 180.
right. It's like Mustang
Come on.
horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no get up and go there, but it's an iconic shape, and that's what I love about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty excited.
That'll be
about
fun.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Zach, what do we got on the Patreon? Anything? A few things? All right, let's go to that. Of course, if you want to talk to our guests and us during the show, patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. And you get an ad-free listening experience. You can get some other good stuff. Okay, let's get to it. Petunia Feeble says, the Volkswagen ID.Buzz is supposedly around the corner. What are your feelings on the vehicle with what we know about it? And what do you, wants us to speculate, basically. If EVs are good at urban mobility, surely EV minivans would be king of that hill. I saw an ID.Buzz in Finland, actually.
A production one on the road.
A production one. And you know where I saw it? At the Helsinki airport.
That makes sense.
It was a cargo one.
Yeah.
It was not the... and it turns out when you paint it fully white with thin air on the side of it... It kind of just looks like
normal.
a regular van.
Yeah.
You need to have the California paint scheme on there.
Well, talking about the California paint scheme, in 2018 or 2019, I drove one of the concept ones painted yellow and white at Pebble Beach. And it seems like it's been out or around for the past 6 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I like the idea of an electric minivan. I'm about that.
Well, the
sounds great.
ID.Buzz looks good to me.
I'm pro minivan, period.
I get it.
Yeah. Uber driver, I dropped a reimbursable $100 reservation for a Silverado EV almost a year ago, but I'm thinking about bailing. But something tells me I could get some benefit out of it instead, like selling my spot in the line to somebody who wants this truck, or should I keep it, buy it, blah, 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 blah. I don't think your reservation is really worth anything.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
They're coming out with an electric Silverado
Okay.
on the same platform as the electric Hummer.
Okay.
So it looks like a regular Silverado, but it's the size of the Hummer. It's giant.
Got it.
But once this thing comes out, they're going to build and sell as many as they can. I don't think your $100 reservation is transferable in a way that has any value, and I think they're going to be selling them. I would just say if you don't want it, just get your money back and move on.
Yeah, unless maybe if you know your order number, you could maybe sell that if you were like in the first 20. But if you're number 6,200, it's 27,000. Like no one cares.
Yeah, and like the Hummer EV's already been here. It's already worth way less than it was brand new on the used market. Like, what is the tail on the flip market for a Silverado, even an electric one?
I think with stuff like this, it's only if you get an early allocation.
That's what I mean. If you get the first one at your dealer,
right,
and can flip it immediately.
Yeah.
But like,
here's a question I'm always asking about used EVs, and of course it's Porsche centric. But yeah, what is the market for a used Porsche Taycan? I mean, does anyone want those?
There are a lot, for sale right now.
At what price? How much have they depreciated in 3-4 years?
They're cheap. 50, 60,
so
70,000.
What is the 5-year cycle? Because that'll be a 5-year-old car next year in a month.
Yeah.
What is this going to do to the used Taycan market?
I don't know. I think so far what I've seen is they're cheap. You can get into I don't know what Porsche's offering for extended warranty
or trade-in
like that,
or that.
Yeah, but they are cheap.
Because whenever I ask them, it's like they don't want to talk about it. But of course, everything's great. They just don't want to talk about it.
Right now on Auto Tempest, you can get a Taycan 4S for $58,000.
That's half.
That's the lowest.
That's like 40%
but
of
what. There's a lot of them in the high 50s, low 60s. Yeah,
they're cheap. That's they've depreciated at least 50%.
Here's a big unknown that we don't know: the 5 to 10 year life cycle of the battery. Mm-hmm. What does that scenario look like when you buy your 40, 50 grand used Taycan, and then 2 years down the road you've got to replace the battery? Yeah. It's not like doing it on your iPhone, right?
Yeah.
What is that going to cost, and what's the service for that and the warranty?
Or I'm curious, and I'm sure people will answer this. Like, can you get it tested at some sort of independent shop that can test the battery life and tell you how much is left in it, so you don't have to replace it? Because some of those batteries are very expensive to replace.
Right.
In some cases, I think Yuri from Straight Pipes was tweeting this yesterday. People buying used Hyundai EVs or new battery was costing like as much as the cost of or a little bit more than like half of the cost of the car. So someone's like, I got a deal. I bought this for $30,000. Right. It's like, you need a new battery. It's $15,000.
Yeah, now it's a 45 grand car.
Right.
This is not such a great deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
I'm not confident. I mean, I like driving those things. I do, but I'm not confident. I wouldn't buy one. Not even at half the MSRP. I wouldn't buy one. All-wheel drive biased. Are modern Porsches too clinical?
Depends what you drive.
Then he elaborates on a Golf R. But are they too clinical?
It depends what you break driving down to. This is how I break it down. Going up the crest is like, this is a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
But commuting from downtown to here, at the time I did it, this is not a fun drive. So if it's clinical on the 405, I don't really care. If it's clinical in the crest, that's a different story.
Yeah, I agree. I think those cars are fun on fun roads.
Right.
And they do everything really well. But I don't really fault them for it. The steering is great. The brakes are great. They do what I tell them to do. You can have a less, quote, clinical experience with a Ferrari or an Aston Martin, maybe.
Do you still have your Aston?
Yeah.
You drive that
clinical.
Much?
I keep it on the East Coast.
Okay.
So when I drive it a lot when I'm there.
What year is that car?
03. And it's got a manual swap, so it's cool. It's fun.
I see Dorian's cruising around in a 09. I don't know if it's a DB7, DB9, but he's got a manual Aston. Have you seen this?
That 09, that's probably a DB9 or DBS, yeah.
And he told me what he paid for it. It was like mind-bogglingly affordable.
Pennies, right?
Yeah. I'm like, why don't I have one of these?
It's probably a DB9. They're shockingly cheap.
Yeah.
They just kind of get a bad rap. There's just not a big market for them.
But the price he told me of what it was like
cheap, right?
I'm going to start looking at one.
Yeah. The floor of an Aston Martin is pretty low. And then they start to creep back a little bit. But they can be very cheap. They're expensive to fix. The parts are expensive. But particularly like interior bits and stuff like that.
And how's the build quality on a 15-year-old Aston?
Decent. Yeah, decent. I mean, some of them, if it's had 4 owners, maybe driven hard and put away wet, but...
Are Astons like that, though? 4 owners driven hard, put away wet?
The third or fourth owner, by the time, someone's getting into one for like 40 grand, yeah. There's a lot of like... They might smell a little funny, you know. They have the leathers worn in kind of weird ways, maybe a little sticky.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Blue light it.
Yeah. Let's see. Tanner Burke said, I was talking about wanting an EV without the anxiety associated with long drives. There's asking about Edison Motors. They're producing a diesel electric semi-truck, which I have seen. It's an electric truck with an onboard generator. They've announced a pickup truck conversion kit. If you want something without anxiety associated with long drives, the words conversion kit should never be used
in the same sentence.
In the same thing. And by the way, I've seen this truck. It looks weird as fuck.
The semi-truck looks weird.
That is the semi-truck looks very strange. And I mean, it's not, I get it. It's a niche, fun thing, but yeah, anxiety on road trips and conversion kit don't go together, sir.
No.
Michael Cosgrove says, what water-cooled Porsche would be the last one you'd let go? That's you.
Which water-cooled Porsche?
Do you only own one water-cooled Porsche?
I got 4 of them, and they're all 996s.
Oh, yeah.
I got the $5,000 04 996. Did I tell you that story?
I think back in the day when you got that car.
Yeah, long story. I get a DM guy goes, I'll practically give it to you. I go, what's practically give? He goes, $5,000. I go, does it run? He goes, yeah. I go, I'll buy it. And then Hannah goes to me, well, how many miles are on it? I go, I don't know. I never asked him. It ran. It was $5,000.
Yeah.
So I got that. I got the 99 Aero Kit 996. I got the 02 GT2 King of the Hill water cooled, and the 04 GT3, and then the turbo outside, the 991. So I went from no water cooled.
You have an 02 GT2?
Yeah, I bought it from Paul Kramer, like 3. I'm the 3rd owner, lifelong LA car, black. Like
those are good.
Another high mileage car, another great Paul Kramer find story from the Auto Kennel. I've known Paul for over 20 years, and I ended up buying a 996 GT2 with 90,000 miles on it, which means pennies on the dollar. Because yet again, there are no GT2s in LA with 90,000 miles on them that are 996s. The average is like 20, 30,000
Yeah, and the
miles.
heavy hitter collectors are not going for that.
Right, and the interesting thing, 20 years ago, that was King of the Hill in 2002. Mm-hmm. It's about 450 horsepower, 2-wheel drive manual. That's today's 992 C2. One step above base.
Yeah.
You can get with pretty much the same spec as a 996 GT2.
Yeah.
That's how far that performance has come.
Those things go quick, though. Those 996 GT2s are real fast.
Yeah,
They're still real fast.
They feel fat. It's hard to get all the power down without them sort of wandering. Mm-hmm. And then you go get in something like, 992 Turbo S with 650 horsepower, and it just puts it down with no drama.
Yeah.
So the GT2 is always drama.
Well, maybe that's what that guy meant by clinical. The GT2 is what you want. If you don't, it's not. Clinical means grip. Yeah. If the thing is ragged as hell.
Yeah.
Plus it has so much traction management now and brake vectoring, all the other things. It helps keep you straight.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas GT2, you just kind of constantly like that, wiggle.
All right, fun. So here we go. Zach says Porsche picks under 40K, under 70K, under 100K, 150K, and unlimited budget. I'll work
This
backwards.
This is
a question for everybody.
Okay.
Unlimited budget Porsche, for me, Carrera GT.
I've driven one. Yeah, I get it. I don't know if you want a daily, a Carrera GT.
No, it's not daily. This is the ultimate. This is...
I'd have to go some sort of vintage 934 for the street or something like that.
934, okay. Under 150,000, what are you buying?
I've bought everything for way under 150,000. That's actually a tough question. If it's a new car, I'd probably get like a base Carrera like I'm talking about as a beater daily.
I would get a 993 Turbo with a bunch of miles on it.
993 is like, for me, it's a Cadillac of 911s.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a great car, but I only own one.
Okay. Under 100.
A car I've never owned, believe it or not, I'd find a 3.2 Carrera. And they used to be 20 grand cars.
Yeah.
Would get you the best one in the world, but I've never actually owned one.
Yeah. Under 100, I mean, a 87 to 89.
Yeah, something like that,
Carrera,
which is probably now
G50,
60 to 80 grand.
Yeah, G50 coupe, nice car. Under 70.
These are some interesting questions.
Under 70, I would go with a really, really nice 997S.
Oh. Well, I'm going to backtrack. Under 100, the car I was actually looking for when I fell into the 991 Turbo S was a 997 Turbo.
Those are good. Yeah, those are very good.
I kind of missed the boat on those because now that's $100 grand.
Now they're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the boat on everything else when they were cheap, but 997 Turbo, to me, that's an itch I want to scratch.
Yeah. But your batting average is pretty good on getting in before everybody else.
Yeah. But it still makes it difficult when you got to spend that type of money to get one.
Under 40 grand.
Oh, a car I actually want, a Cayman.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Under 40 grand, a Cayman's great.
Yeah.
I think I actually agree with you.
That's scratching my water-cooled, mid-engined part of the collection, which I don't have. So Cayman.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
Jake, we answered your question the last time he was here. Thank you, though. Flannel Bob says, what is your ultimate bug-out apocalypse vehicle?
My Chevy van, 2002 Chevy van.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's under the radar. Yeah.
Why did that light just turn on? What happened there? Look at that? That light turned on.
I have
Randomly.
no idea.
Goes
in the machine.
Goes to the machine right there.
That's fucking
You know
weird.
what it is? It's because you're no longer on this side. You've swapped
I don't know.
sides.
We did that. A random light just turned on in the studio on its own.
And normally it turns on with, 7 others?
Normally they're connected to all the other lights. It's just one.
You got to get out the wiring diagram now.
Really
I'm about to be pulled up to
fucking
heaven.
strange. Okay. Aiden Squires, Magnus, any plans on acquiring a 924 DP Cargo?
Well, that's actually a pretty rare car. Have you ever seen those?
Is it like a cargo hatchback?
Yeah. I think they made like 10 or 12 of them or something like that. I mean, that's a really rare car. I once saw one at the Nürburgring.
Oh,
there
cool.
You go.
It's like a shooting
brake, as the Brits would call it.
Is that a factory thing?
Well, it's a DP thing.
What is a DP thing? What's
DP? The DP Motorsports from the 70s.
Oh, I don't know them. It looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
They're pretty rare.
Yeah, I'm definitely into it.
That is funky.
I like that. I like it on like a 944 turbo. It looks pretty dumb on a 924.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I'm into it though. That's nice.
It looks
I'm
like
glad
you
I know about that
grafted
now.
like
Put it
a
on your
Golf with a 924.
It looks
That's
like a
funny.
Volvo hatch, man. Like a Volvo wagon hatch.
Well, everyone loves a Volvo. Looks
Of
good in
course.
silver with those
It
wheels.
does look good. The one of that, that one on the bottom is good. Prime, scroll down, Zach, please. Prime Gamer 92. Thoughts on the 992? Are they worthy of the 911 name?
Sure,
Of course
come on.
they are. Of course.
I mean, this is going to lead into my question for you about the ST. You know, I got a whole rant on the ST.
What's
When
that?
you're done with that.
What's your rant on the ST?
Well, you know, I drove it last week, if we want to dive into it. And I really do like the way it drives. But it's the typical sort of Porsche thing where, first of all, I hate that they call it the ST because it has nothing to do with the original ST.
But no one remembers that except.
But yet they're all in the marketing about it's the lightest,
course.
it's this, it harks back to the original one. But, you know, they're making 963 of them. But here's the thing. I've often said the GT3 is too much of a race car for the street. And I think they finally realized that because, like they love to tell you, they spent a year doing the tuning, dampening on
Right.
that car.
Softening the
Which makes
ST.
me think, why didn't you do that on the GT3 Touring? Did you just have a boatload of people tell you that was too stiff and skittery on real-world roads? So we know the GT3, not so much the Touring, but the GT3 track focus, right?
Yeah.
ST was saying this is more road focused. But yet we've got the light and flywheel, smaller diameter clutch, which is really racy.
Yeah.
And you've got
Right.
all that racy
And the
clatter.
history of the ST is a race-oriented history. Buy this car,
Correct.
take it to the track.
Right.
True.
So the playing on the heritage of an ST, which was never an official model that you could walk into a dealership and buy off the showroom floor. You had to know this thing called the Sport Purpose Catalog, and you'd really have to know how to order it special wishes through the factory. It wasn't a legitimate model. And as you said, it was a race model. But they're calling this new one for the 60th anniversary the ST. But this one's not race ready. This one's more road focused.
Yeah.
But we've actually made it pretty racy because it's the lightest one. It's louder than the GT3, which is the track focus car. Why is the road car louder than the track car? And then the racy bits, which you don't really need on a road car, light and flywheel, clutch, shorter gears. Yeah, this thing screams and zings, but they've moved all that power band down through the gear ratio where I thought always, I'd be in fourth gear, it felt like third gear. I'd be on the freeway thinking...
In the ST?
In the ST. I think the gear ratios are too low for everyday driving. It's like a hill climb short box, which in real world situations is it needed a taller fifth and sixth for freeway. Like everything sort of up to that is super zingy and super fast.
I think you could do a taller sixth gear just for highway, because I drove it street and highway, and I thought it was relatively fine. I spent 4 hours in the car, I guess. On the highway, we did notice, like, okay, these RPMs are higher markedly. But the first 5 I'm fine with.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for a road car, there's certain things which are, it seems too racy for a road car. And then my other thing with it was sort of like, the 4-liter engine has been around 10 years, and they've obviously maxed out all the performance that they can get out of that.
That's why they keep doing this flywheel stuff.
Right, to meet today's emissions. But you look at it from a performance point of view, in 10 years, they've increased barely 5% on horsepower. And torque itself is level.
Yeah.
So that car, you really have to thrash the nuts off it to make speed.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on for a road car. It's almost like too much of a track car for the road car, but we're calling it a road car.
Well, that's why my Spider, we increased displacement, we increased torque. And so compared to a Spider RS or GT4 RS, my car is more streetable and much quicker in the canyons.
Because you've got bigger displacement and more torque.
And you don't have to rev it as high to get the power.
Well, that's my thing with the ST, right? You know, it feels like a race car. And everything they've done to make it feel faster, I think has hampered it being a great road car that they're marketing it as.
Yeah, I mean, if you really are driving on the road, if you really want the best road canyon road trip car they've got, it's the GTS rear-wheel drive.
Right.
That's the move.
Well, here's the thing. I spoke to the engineer. I interviewed him. I'm doing an OPP on this. I'm like, why'd you take the rear steering off? Well, save weight. Well, how much weight is it saving, right? And do you really notice that? Do you want a more analog feel? Are you trying to make this car more like the ST from 1970 without the rear steering, right? So there's a lot of things which seem contradictory.
Well, I like the change they made. I like the lack of rear steer and then the change in the steering ratio.
The steering ratio is phenomenal.
Which they slowed it down because they got rid of the rear steer, and I think the feel was great. And I didn't really miss the rear steer unless you're doing a U-turn.
Yeah, I didn't miss it either.
Who cares? And Porsche's rear steer is very good. It's mostly invisible. So I thought that change was fine. And to me, I understand what you're saying. It's weird. They kind of made this into the ultimate road car. Except if you take away the NVH and the sound editing, it's so loud in there. So like this is kind of what I wish the Touring was.
Right.
If you make it a little quieter, because the Touring, as you said and we've all said, was too stiff because they kept the suspension the same as the normal GT3.
Right.
They should have done this suspension tuning on the Touring, not touched anything else.
Right.
And then you could have called this something else. But
they
Porsche
could have
will
called
always,
this an RS Touring.
Yeah, or a TS. Just come up with something completely new.
And softened the regular Touring.
Right, because when you look at it, to me at a glance, they all kind of look similar. Is it a Touring? Is it a Sport Classic? Only from that side profile where you see the off fender and the door.
Yeah.
But when you see it elsewhere, I'm like, are they borrowing the hood from the Sport Classic? Or is this, the roof, the bubble channel roof, or is that the roof from the GT3 RS?
That's kind of what Porsche does. Without the big wing on the back, the changes are usually pretty subtle.
Yeah, there's 25 different variations on the Porsche configurator today. 25 of them.
I think there's more than that.
There's 25 that are in production.
Okay.
They might tell you there's 27 like the Sport Classic, but it's sold out. You can't actually get it.
All right. Okay.
I went on the website and counted them.
I think I did 29 once, but there's some that they're not
available.
Right.
Sport Classic would be a perfect example.
What would be cool is because the suspension changes were just all software. Is if you could. Can you download that software to a Touring? Granted, you don't have the steering ratio, you don't have the rear steer delete.
But the damping
I wonder how that would
be
affect
nice.
it.
Did you ask them why there was no rear steering? And I'm just curious what they said the answer was. Was it a weight-saving thing, or was it more of a feel?
They said that they changed. They said that with the steering ratio that the Touring and the regular GT3 have, if you had the rear steer also, the steering was too twitchy. So that's why they slowed down the steering ratio. And then they got rid of the rear steer because the two systems. That's what they said. Good. I think it was probably, weight savings was a component. I think it was like 25 kilograms. It wasn't actually, no, I think it was 25 pounds. It's
25
it's pretty
kilograms.
light system.
It's 55
So 25 pounds. It wasn't that much lighter than a Touring. I think it was like 100 pounds or something
On
like that.
On a real positive note, when I finally found the rev limiter at 9,000 RPM in second, third, and by the time I was in fourth gear, you're doing deep triple-digit speed, so you're off it. But finding it in second and third gear on a twisty road following with GT3, where I was actually catching up a GT3, I was having a lot of fun in that car.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, like
Drives great.
above 5,000 RPM all the way to 9 if you can get to 9, or 7,500 or 8.
Yeah.
It's just intoxicating.
Same thing with Spider RS that has intakes right behind your ears, which is just insane. But you have to be going so fast in any gear to get there.
Did you want the rear steer to remain, or like? I'm
No,
just curious
no,
why you're just curious why they got rid of it.
I was curious why they got rid of it, and they told me it was a weight-saving thing, which just kind of seemed a crazy answer. The answer you told me about, balancing the slower front steering.
I mean, that's what they told me, but I'm sure it was a factor of both, because they had to delete, as they do with a lot of cars now, to get significant weight out. You have to take a pound here, a pound there, a pound here, a pound there, and add it all up. You can't just take out 200 pounds from the body. The body's already pretty light, even when they added the carbon panels.
I just kind of wish it wasn't called the ST and it was a track-focused car, as opposed to saying, no, this one's more road-focused, but yet it's actually quite as racy as the GT3 itself.
But I think they're very smart in their marketing and their sales, as they always are, because they went, what do people want? They want a GT3 that rides better. Yeah,
right.
But you want to be able to drive it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. This is the one I would take. Like GT3 RS with the big wing, in real-world situations, kind of annoying.
Yeah. No trunk.
Yeah,
Nah.
I mean, it
looks rad. And I already talked to Porsche. I get to drive it in January. They're going to send us one for a couple days.
But here's the crazy thing: $291,000 list.
Dude,
how much is
$350 over?
How much is a GT3?
Probably 75 grand less than that.
So why is this so expensive?
I mean,
because
limited
it can
run.
Be.
Yeah, because it can be.
They're very good at this, man.
Less is
the
more,
most profitable car company.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, limited run, 1,963. This is still a lot.
Yeah, less is more. Hey, look, at least it's not like GM, where more just means that it now seats 9 people and weighs 10,000 pounds.
I mean, the challenge here is going to be, like everything, right? Getting an allocation. This is the new R. It's like the 2016 991R.
Yeah.
Everyone that has got on that 918 program, they already have got the allocation.
Yeah.
That program needs to end.
I think 10 years, right? 2025, it's done.
Well, didn't the 918 come out in 2013? I was there when it came out.
13 to 15.
All right,
so I think 2015.
That is a lot of loyalty.
It's a lot of loyalty.
Yeah. I guess at least with this one, the first year is a lease where you can't sell it, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Trying to get around those.
We'll see. All right, is this the last one, Zach? Okay, last question, which is good because I have training soon. I have to
training. What are you doing?
I'm training like physical training.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It's hard work to stay this level of fat.
I want to hear about it.
Isaiah Stanley says, I'm going to Tokyo in May. What's one thing each of you would do while there? Doesn't need to be car related.
Oh.
Eat some fucking ramen.
No, to me, Tokyo, you got to drive. I mean, driving around Tokyo.
Drive the Hakone.
Do the ring
Toge,
or whatever it's called. Yeah. I mean, drive to
there's
Yokohama.
There's a place outside Tokyo called Fun to Drive with the number 2, and they rent a bunch of like cool JDM cars. They got like tuner Skylines and like vintage 240Zs and shit like that, and they're right on the like Toge roads, and so you can go there.
Do that then.
Yeah, Fun to Drive. So let's see what do they have in the fleet right now. They got old school Skylines. They got R32, R33. They've got. I'm sure there's more than that. This is some straight up like GeoCities website. Some Civics, some RX-7, S2000, Trueno. Ferrari 355s.
You got a 964 Turbo.
Yeah, but you got to get a Japanese car. You can't fucking go all the way over there. You got to get a Skyline or something like that,
GTR.
and then go hit their roads if you can.
Yeah, that'd be a cool thing to do.
Really fun.
What is it? 34 million people in Greater Tokyo? I was reading.
This is like about an hour outside Tokyo. I don't like driving in Tokyo. The traffic sucks and it's whatever. But if you can get out to that, it's very nice. The driving outside of Tokyo is fantastic.
One of my coolest drives was I went to visit Nakaya-san and did a nighttime drive with him and a bunch of RWB idlers around Tokyo, around the ring.
Yeah.
Which was
they probably know
cool.
how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. That's probably cool.
But that's the ticket anywhere driving around any city.
But like, I love ramen. And the best ramen I've ever had in my entire life was chosen 100% at random from a place in Tokyo. It was like, that one. And it was just the best ramen. Just eat everything.
Good to know.
Shop for Grand Seiko while you're there. Buy a Seiko.
So you're working out. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I got to go do. I do 30 minutes of cardio and then an hour of weight training 3 times a week. And then I do 3 days a week of just cardio. And then the 7th day I do Pilates.
I thought you started lifting before the cardio.
I tried to do that. I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Now I do the cardio. I do the cardio first.
Are you more energized?
I'm trying to be less fat and stronger and have fewer like injuries. Take care of my knees and my back, and because driving on flying is really bad for you.
Yeah, getting old.
Bad for me.
I get it.
So anyway, I do that. Shout out to Fit Like Sean on Instagram, my trainer.
All right, I'll check him out.
Yeah, he comes to the crib. It's great.
He comes to your house?
Comes to my house.
I'm kind of surprised you don't have a gym here.
I have a gym in my house.
Okay.
I turned my garage into a gym,
all right.
and then I only have 1 car garage now because I did the gym. But it's close to here, so we're okay.
It's good to hear.
But yeah,
if you put a gym in here, I would just move in here. Have
Health and wellness.
We could build. Yeah, I know, right? We thought about it, but then I was like, "Who is that for?"
Yeah.
Really?
Then you got to put a steam room in there and a cold plunge, and
then there's no room for
sauna.
cars, and then the business starts failing.
Of course, other people's Porsches.
OPP
on YouTube. Is it just the
YouTube.
Magnus Walker channel?
Yeah, that's it.
It's just on the Magnus Walker. Magnus Walker Urban Outlaw is the channel.
Yeah.
Go check out that Estevan Oriole piece. That's really
great.
cool.
It's my fave.
The TAG Turbo one, and I can't wait to see the when that one comes out.
TAG Turbo should be out like sometime early January.
Okay, cool. This episode we're taking off the week of Christmas, so this episode will be up first week of January as well.
Right.
So go check it out as soon as you see it. I'm so glad we got to talk about Rolls-Royces and stuff.
Yeah, well, Bentleys as well.
Bentleys and Rolls-Royces.
Yeah.
Put me down for a TWR XJS.
All right.
I am very much interested.
What color do you want?
I mean, it's got to be pink.
Got to be pink. All right, you got a theme going.
A Jag's got to be British Racing Green.
I'm already talking to Hot Wheels about it, so we'll see.
If I was doing
BRG.
a Jag, it would have to be British Racing Green.
What
over
color interior would you do?
Dark tan, like a baseball glove.
You won't go like cricket ball, sort of ox blood.
I could be talked into it. You have a good eye. I would take a recommendation.
All right.
Maybe like some kind of a houndstooth going on in there, or something fun. Yeah. I'm sure we could find
country gentleman style.
Yeah. It's got to be classy.
Yeah, classy.
British Racing Green gold wheels.
Bronze, maybe.
Bronze. Yeah. Not flashy.
Yeah, bronze.
Understated. Yeah.
BRG in bronze. Sounds pretty good.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks for coming,
Merry
Magnus.
Christmas,
Always
happy
good to see
holidays
you.
and all that.
You as well. Best to Hannah. Thanks
Thank you
everyone
very
for
much.
listening. We will see you guys later.